Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
Yeah. And speaking of, protecting yourself and walking and being healthy, I know we had been talking about just how people over 40 can live healthier, because, obviously politics and current events are something that we discuss a lot because there's a lot happening in the world right now, and for you, you're a guy who's very much about taking care of your clientele, being in the financial space. And, so we definitely talk about things financial. It's easy to overlook the importance of living a healthy life. And ultimately, the one thing that all of us as human beings have in common is how we take care of our bodies is going to impact our longevity and our vitality. And so I know that you had sent me some things to talk about with regard to just over 40 lifestyles and different habits. What's on your mind in that area?
So I think it always triggers me not triggers me. I don't want to say that. Let me back that up. All the left-leaning people are going to go, oh my God, Chris Philp gets triggered. Right?
They're gonna start a Patreon and
right,
a GoFundMe and send you some money.
See, even that toxic masculinity, right? Whatever it is, like how about some toxic femininity? Like whenever I just am good at mirroring, right? If you throw that on me, I'm gonna throw it back at you. The thing that I want to say triggers, right? Let me back that up, erase that from the record, right? The thing that I always used to get stuck on, and I think a lot of us get stuck on, is we always think it's too late. We always think it's too late, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is it's never too late until it's too late, right? So think about that or process that or chew on that any way you want, however that makes sense to anybody. But there are things that can be done. And I recently, I'm always researching this topic. I'm always trying to, no matter how much you think you know about, yourself or health or longevity or what you can do, you got to always constantly keep learning about it because things constantly keep changing. And I recently came across a lot of good information that I found very, that hit for me. And I don't necessarily think that it's like, well, if I was like, sometimes we go, I know this already, but sometimes we need to hear the same thing 5 to 7 times before we actually start to go, wait a minute, this is something I need to do. And that's so true of just making new habits. Since you brought that up, I think earlier today, you were talking about the power of atomic habits or the power of habit. Mm-hmm. And it really is, you need to hear something 5 to 7 times before you actually start to actually take action on it. But I just recently came across, I don't know, it was a few different points, but it was things, it was 10 habits or something along the line that you can start if you're in your 40s. So he's like, I'm in my 40s and I want to start doing something because I don't want to be in a walker when I'm in my 50s. I don't want to, I want to pay the price. So, it was just 10 points. I thought it was very interesting. And I could just rattle them off real quick, Glenn, and then we can have a conversation about them. But
okay, go for it.
Obviously, the biggest thing that I started paying attention to this a few years ago, really about, I'd say even more so in the last 12 months, maybe 18 months, was not just cardio training, but strength training. You've got to do some type of strength training because after the age of 30, you lose about 3 to 8% of your muscle mass per decade. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And muscle mass now, I mean, yes, you have to be exercised, you have to be in shape, but muscle mass does so many things for you because you're regulating blood sugars, you're regulating blood pressures, energy stores, mood, hormones, D3 production, absorption. So muscle strength in age, as you age, lean muscle strength is a good indicator of insulation for your body or adaptability for your body and longevity for your body. Morning people, just getting up in the morning, getting up early and not necessarily like you're getting up getting up at 3 o'clock, but you're getting up reliably and consistently without something waking you up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. Even on weekends. Yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't have the every day, but and things like that are telling. Things like that are habitual, that especially for men. Even to go so far as deep hobbies, cultivating hobbies, you got to have outlets, giving your mind something to learn about. Learning to say no without guilt is a great one. And I don't want to say meditation practices, but for some people who are not spiritual, maybe that's your form of spiritual believing. But you gotta dig in with your spiritual life more, I think, and rather than a meditation approach, because that is kind of meditation to me. Stop eating, a lot. Stop overindulging. If it cut out, eat until you're like 70 to 80% full. Eat slow. Prioritize sleep over productivity. This was a huge one for me because it's like go. The badge of honor of I worked 18 hours today. I worked 20 hours today. I'll sleep when I'm dead. You literally will. Mm-hmm. You literally will die, right? Sleep is massive, 7 to 8 hours religiously. And conclusive studies have shown that this is one of those big a lot of longevity doctors will say that sleep is on the same level as exercise. Go figure. You keep learning new skills and you maintain friendships intentionally, meaning you got to be proactive with your friendships. Don't rely on people to be proactive. And then address stress at the source. Look, you don't have time. Cut it out of your life. You're at a stage in your life where, you might be halfway there. Maybe you are halfway there. For most people, that's like a halfway point for them. Life is short anyways. You gotta prioritize that and, cut that crap out. So I think that was very telling. And that was a big piece of value for me. And that's why I shared it with you, because I know we're always talking about that. And I'm glad to share it here as well. If you haven't found it, just go Google search stuff, or don't even have your AI bot, train your AI bot to just do a sweep every day and say, find me the top nutritional longevity stuff and tell it what you're asking for. For example, I had a couple chatbots do plan a whole vacation, logistics and all, to European countries. It's so time saving. You could have a chatbot say, "Hey, I'm trying to lose 20 pounds. Here's my height, weight, boom, 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 boom." And say, find me the best nutritional tips and stuff everywhere for this, and it'll gather that for you every single day. So use the technology, use what's out there, use your tools, and stay healthy. Because your health is your wealth. Because I don't care how nice your car is or how nice your house is or how big your bank is. If you have a chronic illness or a chronic disease, you don't care about anything but that. And that becomes 100% of your signal. It does. Yep. And I know we're going to Christmas and there's a lot to be thankful for, Len, as we wrap up here today, which I can't even believe. I mean, our conversations are always like this, but and that's really, I think, the sign of a true, is a good friend, is you can spend a lot of time with them and not even realize how long you spent with them. Because it's a true, honest, and open conversation. But I'm just happy to share that kind of stuff. But yeah. Christmas is coming. We're staying home. It's going to be a nice, calm one. I throw it back over to you, Len. Any last thoughts you have for today? You want to dive in on those longevity tips, or give us a word? Because you're in that space and you see people get sick, and they can avoid a lot of that.
Exactly. So I want you, if you're watching this, and because like for me, the people I work with are typically like high net worth children of aging parents. And I will tell you what I see over and over happen is that you have the son or daughter that lives in a different state than their parent or their parents. And one parent ends up passing away. So they're together and they may not necessarily focus too much on their health because maybe the husband relied on the wife to, fix meals, and maybe she doesn't know to, feed them grass-fed meat and foods and high fat and low carbs and high antioxidants and omega-3s and all of those things. Maybe you didn't get all that information. And so your dad may be the one left over, not knowing how to take care of himself. Or it may be the mom that I've noticed that is the surviving spouse, and the husband took care of all of the bills and took care of all of the insurances and all of the legacy planning and all of those things, and ran the household from a financial standpoint, and all of the mixtures in between. But the biggest thing that I see is that once a person is up in age, and especially when they're on their own because they've lost one spouse and they don't have all of the other longevity hacks on their own, they pass away so quickly, especially when they're by themselves. And so it's really, really important to start taking what Chris just talked about, doing your own research for yourself. But then once you acquire those sets of habits for yourself, share it with your parents so they can begin to have those habits. And again, like he said, it's not too late until it's too late. So whether your parents are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, start having that conversation, because the body has a very unique way of healing itself when you put the right food into it and when you exercise. And so maybe it's starting off with 2-pound weights. Maybe it's no weight, but it's just getting movement. Maybe it's just, taking a chair and holding onto it and doing squats, but maybe not all the way down, but just a little bit where you're putting a little resistance. Maybe it's, holding onto something and lifting up one leg and then alternating between two legs, and then eventually holding on with one hand and then eventually no hands, and being able to balance. Just one little baby step at a time to eat the right foods, to put a little stress on your body with physical activity and exercise, and a little by little over time starts to add up. And even though you may have 2 sick parents, or maybe one of your parents passed away, you can keep your other parent because you've taught them ways to live longer. But if they're by themselves, the biggest thing they need is a companion or somebody professional or somebody that cares about them, to spend time with them, to feed them information, feed their mind, their body, and their spirit. And they'll live longer. And just, for me, the worst thing that I hate is seeing somebody pass away prematurely because of something they didn't know, because the information's all around us, but sometimes we don't know what we don't know, so we don't ask the questions. And so as we wrap up this year and as we wrap up this show, we just want you to know that we appreciate every single one of you out there. And we hope that by watching our show, that you're a little bit smarter now than you were a few minutes ago. And I hope that you understand the value of always acquiring new information and processing that information critically and then sharing that. So with that, share, subscribe, comment. We definitely want to hear from you. And we hope that all is phenomenal closing out this year and starting out Q1 next year. So Chris, man, every time I have a blast with you, I always learn just by listening to you. Even though I don't always agree with you, I always get value from what you say. So it's always great. It's always a pleasure.
Likewise. Merry Christmas, Lynn. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Take care.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.